are learning the topic prime numbers. Okay. In the last lecture, we have seen one theorem that every positive integer greater than 1 has at least one prime divisor. Okay. So the next theorem is we have to prove that there are infinite number of primes. Okay. List of prime number is not finite. Is not finite. Okay. There are infinite number of primes. We have to prove this theorem. Okay. So the theorem is, we will prove this theorem by contradiction. Okay. Euclid has given the proof for this theorem. Okay. So now we will prove this. Suppose, since we are going to prove this theorem in by contradiction, okay, we will prove the theorem by method of contradiction. We will prove the theorem by method of contradiction. Suppose number of primes are finite. What we have to prove? We have to prove there are infinite number of primes. Okay. And we are going to prove by contradiction. So we are assuming that number of primes are finite. At last we will get some contradiction. So our assumption will be wrong. Okay. Suppose there are infinite. So suppose there are finite number of primes only. Say n primes. Okay. Where first prime is 2, second prime is 3, third prime is 5, fourth prime is 7, up to so on, up to say there are n primes. Okay. So suppose there are only n primes, p1, p2, p3, p4 and pn. Okay. Suppose these are the only primes. Now what we will do? We define, I will write p here up to p. These are the n primes. Okay. Now define a number m or integer m equal to 1 plus p1, p2 up to p. Okay. Now here m is greater than 1 because this is the product of prime numbers. Okay. This is some addition greater than 1 plus 1. So number must be greater than 1. So here m is a positive integer greater than 1. Okay. So m is positive integer greater than 1. So by the theorem, you already seen in the last lecture that every positive integer greater than 1 has at least one prime divisor. Okay. So by the theorem, so this implies, or we have, there exists a prime p. There exists a prime p such that p divides m. Okay. But number of primes are only this. This prime must be among this list. Okay. This implies p must belong to the set p1, p2 up to pn. Okay. Since number of primes is finite, p is also one prime. So p must be among these n numbers because there we are assuming that only n prime numbers are there. P is also prime. So p must be among these primes. Okay. This implies p must divide their product p1, p2 up to pn. Why? Because p is one of them. Okay. For example, 2 divides 2 into anything. 2 divides 2 into 3 into anything. Likewise, p is one of the p1, p2, pn. So p divides any multiple of p. So p divides p1, p2, pn. Right? So p divides product primes. Okay. P divides m. This implies p divides m minus p1, p2 up to pn. Why? P divides m. And p divides this product also. So p divides their subtraction also. But m minus p1, p2, pn is equal to 1. This implies p divides 1. but P is a prime number greater than 1, and we are getting that P divides 1. It's not possible, so we get the contradiction. So our assumption that number of primes are finite is wrong. So number of primes are infinite. Okay, but P is prime greater than 1. Okay, and 1 has only one divisor, which is 1. Okay, so this is not possible. So this implies P divided 1 is a contradiction to our assumption. So our assumption is wrong. This implies there are infinite number of primes. Why? Because our assumption was number of primes is finite, but we get contradiction. So our assumption is wrong. So what is true? The true statement is that number of primes are infinite. Okay, number of primes are infinite. So this is the proof that the number of prime or list of prime is infinite. Okay. Next theorem about prime number is if P is prime, okay, and P divides AB, okay, then P divides A or P divides B. That we have to prove. If a prime number divides product of two numbers, then that prime must divide one of them. Okay, for example, 2 divides 6, that is 2 into 3. Now see, 2 divides 2. Okay, like that. Theorem is proof is very simple. We know the Euclid's lemma. The Euclid's lemma will be useful for proving this theorem. Okay. Now let P divides AB. Okay. If P divides one of the factor, then there is no need to prove. Okay. That is, if P divides A, then P divides, already we got P divides A or P divides B. Okay. If prime, like if 2 divides 2, there is no problem. Okay. Okay. So now if P divides A, then theorem follows automatically. Okay. Then theorem, okay, follows without proof. Like this. Now here, if 2 does not divide C, look, 2 does not divide C. So we will prove, we will assume that P does not divide C. Because if P divides A, then we have to prove P divides A or P divides B. Then theorem is over, proof is over. Okay. So assume P does not divide C. Now prime number does not divide A means GCD of P and A or A and B must be equal to 1. We know Euclid's lemma. If P divides AB and if GCD of P and A is 1, then P must divide B. So by Euclid's lemma, we have P must divide C. Okay. So like this. If P divides AB, then P must divide A or P must divide B. So P must divide one of the factors. Okay. Next theorem is very simple, but this theorem also has been asked 2-3 times. Bottom was in exams. So next theorem is just extension of this theorem. This theorem says if P divides AB, then P must divide at least one of the factor. Second theorem is very much similar to this theorem. What is the next theorem? If P divides A1, A2, AN, then P must divide one of the factors of A1, A2, AN. Okay? The theorem is if P is prime and P divides the product of n numbers, so A1, A2 up to an. Okay, if P is price and P divides A1 A2 an, then P divides one factor in the product. Then P divides at least one factor, at least one factor in this product. Okay, in the A1 A2 A. Okay, that is P must divide some AI. That is P must divide some one of the A1 A2 or AM. So we can say P divides AI where I is less equal to 1 and less equal to n. Okay. So we will prove this. We will prove this by using induction method or mathematical induction. First we will prove this theorem is true for n is equal to 1. Okay. For n is equal to 1, the theorem is obviously proved. Why? Because for n is equal to 1, P divides A1. So only one factor. So P must divide that factor. Okay. For n is equal to 1, the theorem is obvious. Okay. There is nothing to prove because if P divides A1, if 2 divides 2, 2 must divides 2, one factor must be given. Okay. Surely for n is equal to 2, don't need to write for 2 condition, but for your understanding, for n is equal to 2, theorem also true because if P divides here, if P divides AB, we can write if P divides A1 A2, instead of B I write A2, instead of A I write A1. We already proved if P divides product of two numbers, then P must divides one of them. By last term, P must divides A1 or P must divides A2. We can take this as the initial condition. Okay. For n is equal to 1 or for n is equal to 2. Theorem is true for n is equal to 1. Also theorem is true for n is equal to 2. Now next step of induction is assume for some n. Okay. Assume theorem is true first. Okay. Theorem is true for n. For n. That is, if P divides A1 A2 an, implies P must divides AI where I is greater than equal to 1 and less equal to n. Theorem, we are assuming the theorem is true for n. So if P divides for an n number, then P must divide at least one of the factor. That is P must divides either A1, A2 or an. That is P must divides AI where I is nothing but greater than equal to 1 less equal to n. Now we will prove that this theorem is true for n plus 1. If theorem is true for n plus 1, then the theorem is true for every value of n. Okay. Now let P divides A1, A2, an plus 1. That is P divides, I will let in group. So I will let this A1, A2 up to an in one group and an plus 1 as the other factor. Okay. An plus 1. Now this is A, this is B. By last theorem, if P divides A into B, it implies either P divides A, that is P divides A1, A2 up to an, or P divides an plus 1. Okay. So if P divides A plus n plus 1, we are proved theorem because what is the conclusion? P must divides one factor and P divides one factor. If P divides A1 into an, then by our second step or by our assumption, if P divides A1 into an, okay, then P must divides an. Okay, so either using this or using this, we come to one point that P must divides one factor. Okay, if P divides an plus 1, P divides one factor. By induction, or by assumption of induction. Okay, so we can write by assumption in this process of induction. Okay, we get P must divides AI where I lies between 1 to n. P must divide some AI where 1 is less equal or I less equal to n. So either P divides an plus 1 or P divides one of the A1 into an. So we get P divides at least one factor. Okay. So theorem is if P is prime and prime divides some product of n numbers, then P must divide at least one of the factor. For example, the number 3 into 4 into 5. This number either divisible by prime number 3 or prime number 5. There is no other prime which can be divided this product. This product is 5 into 4 into 3. 5 into 4 is 20 into 3 is 60. And check this 60 must be divisible by either 3 or only 5. Check whether there is any other prime. I say prime, not even numbers or not composite numbers. I am saying show me a prime numbers. Okay, such that 7 divides 60, 11 divides 60. No. Okay, either 3 or 5 are divisions of 4s. We can write each of 4. We can write 2 into 2. So either only 2, 3 and 5 can divide these numbers. Okay, this is the 5 because 2 divides 4, 3 divides 3, 3 divides 5, A1, A2, A3. So only 2, 3 and 5, these are the only prime numbers which can be divided 3 into 4 into 5. Okay, this is the application of this theorem. Okay, friends, there is one very famous important statement also known as the fundamental theorem of arithmetic is that every positive integer can be written or expressed in the product can be expressed in the form of product of primes uniquely except the order of primes. For example, consider the number 8. 8 is equal to 2 into 4. This is equal to 2 into 2 into 2. So number 8 as a product of prime. We know 2 is a prime. Or we can write this as 2k. Consider number 14. It can be written as 2 into 7. 2 is prime, 7 is prime. Okay? Take any number. Say 36. 36 is equal to 6 into 6. But 6 is not prime. But 6 is equal to 2 into 3. This is also equal to 2 into 3. So again 36 as a product of primes. Again we can write it as 2 into 2 square. 10 to 3, 3 square. Okay. So you take any positive integer, say a greater than 1. Okay, positive integer greater than 1 can be written as uniquely as a product of primes. Suppose a is number greater than 1, then it can be written as p1, p2 up to pn, where p is a prime. Okay, except the order they can be written uniquely. Okay, 47 is equal to 2 into 7 can be written as 7 into 2. So that's why we are saying uniquely, except order can be changed. Someone can write 2 into 7, other can write 7 into 2. And this form 36 is equal to 2 square into 3 square is called standard form or canonical factorization, like this. 8 is equal to 2 into 2 into 2, but we can write 2 only. We have write one prime at a time only once. Okay, so 2 into 2 into 2 means 2 cube. Here 2 times 2, 3 times 3. So instead of writing this, we can write 2 square into 3 square. This is called standard or canonical factorization. Okay, for example, take 72. 72 is equal to 9 into 8. 9 is 3 into 3. 8 is 2 cube. This is equal to 3 square into 2 cube. This is the standard or canonical factorization. Write a prime only once. So here 3, 3. So write 3 square. This is called standard or canonical factorization. is called standard or canonical factorization. Using this, we can find GCD and LCM number. So in the next lecture, we'll learn how to find GCD and LCM using this canonical or standard factorization, and we'll also see the proof of this theorem later in next lecture. Okay. So this is the standard or canonical factorization. Okay. So thank you.